co-op, you're also part of the solution. You can help by making your home more energy efficient. Together, we have the power to make a difference.
This message brought to you by Cumberland Electric Membership Corporation.
Hi, this is Mike Lefevre with the Lefevre Quartet. Let me encourage you to download the WSGI app for iPhone and Android so you can listen to good old gospel music 24 hours a day on 1100 WSGI, Springfield, Tennessee.
One street over there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I have today. Time's gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of
Oh, let's go ahead and interrupt the guys singing us in. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and this is One Street Over. What's happening one street over from where you live in on the second Tuesday of the month? That is the day. Typically, unless there's a Martin Luther King Day or President's Day or something like that, that is when the school board meeting happens on the second Monday. So on that very next day, director of school comes in, and today I hadn't heard from Dr. Weeks. All of a sudden, Assistant Director Steve Sorrells comes walking in, and I'm like, well, hey, how you doing? And I'm super excited about this because, I don't think you and I have really had much time to really chit-chat, So I think this is going to be fun. We're going to chit-chat.
Ms. Vivio, I'm glad to be here. I hope to help you in any way that I can, and I think our paths have crossed a couple of times. I just, you're right, we've not had a chance to just sit down and speak, but I've heard high things of you and the program that you're involved with at Greenbrier High School, and my son's been connected with you a time or two, so obviously good things, and of course your husband Mark, working with him, was a lot of the ways that we have crossed, but just getting together and talking, I don't know that we've actually done that, but looking forward to this morning, what it brings.
Me too, and and Dr. Weeks is out of town, and he may have even mentioned that to me, and that was before spring break and all the things, and so you forget what's going on, but absolutely, and the same to you. I've heard, just wonderful things about you and didn't realize your history at Greenbrier. And what brought it up is, I told you people had said we were mispronouncing your name on the news because we had you on the news last year when you were a judge in the crawfish competition, and so the kids had to present, and judging, was Mr. Staggs and Mr. Sorrells, and a couple of the kids just, I guess, butchered your name or something, and I didn't know to catch it because I thought maybe I was pronouncing it wrong. And they're like, Miss Vivio, he was principal here for, and you got to get that right. And I was like, oh, okay. And so when were you principal at Greenbrier?
Wow, so we have to go way back. Of course, I attended school there as well.
No way.
I did. So,
well, see, did Dr. Weeks attend school there, or is he just got a Because y'all both got connections to Greenbrier, don't you?
Dr. Weeks is a little bit younger than I am, but and of course, Miss Dickerson, you're aware of Miss Dickerson. We're all she and I are the class of 1978.
So she's a Greenbrier kid too.
She is, exactly.
I did not know that.
I started there as a student. We moved to Greenbrier the sixth grade year, March of my sixth grade year. So I was actually a part of the sixth grade class. I was at the brand new Greenbrier Elementary School at the time. So
Isn't that fun?
it opened that year. Went to middle school at the old junior high school, and then started Greenbrier High School, where the middle school is at now. That of course, burnt and caught on fire and burnt down. But started to work at Greenbrier High School in the fall of 1984.
Okay.
So started teaching and coaching there. Spent
What did you coach?
I was a football coach.
Okay.
Yeah, I coached and I also created a softball. I had a stint there as a girls softball coach for a period of time.
Awesome.
back when that first got going.
Okay.
But nonetheless, spent 17 years in the classroom before I got into administration. Coached for a total of 22 years before.
Wow.
Finished up with that, but spent the last 6 years of my career there at Greenbrier as the principal. Had been assistant principal for several years prior to that, but then 6 years as principal, so a total of 28 years at Greenbrier High School.
That's amazing. Well, no wonder everybody's like, well, Miss Vivio, he's a fixture here. You know,
Several generations of students have passed since then, but that was a while ago.
Yeah,
And then
that's amazing.
last 15 years as a central office supervisor, working with Dr. Weeks in another district, and now back home in Robertson County. It's something special to look at. As
That is really cool.
we finishing year 42 in education, so we'll see where the next few years lead us, right?
Isn't that fun? Yeah. See, and that's people ask me because I came out of a broadcast career that I've been in since 1980.
Yeah.
And still doing it thanks to Ebenezer Broadcasting. Thank you, LU Maldonado, for letting me keep my toe in the waters.
Yeah.
And because I'm 63,
Yeah.
and they did the educators survey thing. How long do you see yourself doing this? And I'm like, 15, 16 years. I plan on, because as they say, the 60 is the new 40, so
Right.
I'm planning on going to 75.
Well,
as long as I'm physically able.
Sure.
Because I love it. Mark and I both. We're looking at about 75 where we'll officially retire maybe. And that depends. We may be like, let's do a couple more years.
Sure.
I don't know.
Well, I think both of you, and I keep up with what you do in the classroom.
Thank
I know
you.
the relationships you build with students and the impact that you make on them is
Thank you.
what makes it all special. And obviously, as you said, your health is the big key when we get to our age, but it's also the impact that you have. So as long as you feel like the value of your work and you're seeing things get accomplished, that's all what it's about. We're put here for a reason, and make sure we can fulfill that purpose in whatever way that we do. So I agree that what you've got is a strong impact, and I still feel blessed in what I'm doing right now.
And see, that's one thing too. I think that some of us that are, older, we're so needed in the education world because I'm working on stuff with my kiddos, talking about how sound works. How do we go from my voice through this and out, just the very basics of it. And they just take it for granted. They pick this up.
Exactly.
And they don't think about it being a microphone, a transmitter, a receiver, a speaker, all the things that are in here. And we've been able to watch it develop.
Right.
And when you can't take this for granted because things can change. And so I think that the things that we can bring to the table, and they appreciate it too. They like kind of having that more mature because they ask us questions they can't ask other people. And so it's fascinating. So I love it. I encourage you, if you are older and you're looking for purpose, substitute teach. Drive a bus. If you want to teach, there are opportunities out there. You can find my friend Mr. Valines over at in the English halls. When he told me he was going to, because we made my husband, he wrote a story on my husband and I retiring into teaching for their staypositive.news publication they do. And then it wasn't long after he goes, I'm going to do that. I was like, that's awesome. Then he decided to do English, and I'm like, Chris, that's a tested subject. That's different than CTE. CTE career stuff is more, just like Dr. Weeks said, we're more project based, and it's just different. It's just so different. And when I see my math teacher friends and my English teachers and histories and social studies and the sciences and the things that they have to do because they've got these tests that they have to, it's a lot, especially when you miss 2 weeks in a semester, and so, but he's doing beautifully, and so proud of him.
Ms. Vivio, you're exactly right. Going back to my career at Greenbrier High School, my classroom subject for business, and I wound up with computer classes at the time when computers first got into school. So programming become a part of what I did and what I taught, and just the evolution of technology, computers in general, what we've got in our classrooms now. And it's interesting that you're talking about screen time that young people have, and what our legislators looking at as far as how we can, the thought is we should limit that. I don't know how you get away from it now. Once you go there, it's hard to pull it back. But technology is such a wonderful tool that can be used in a lot of positive ways. Unfortunately, there's also some drawback and some negative uses of technology that we struggle with sometimes. But certainly that is our challenge. And mentioned Mr. Valines. He too is a former classmate. He's a little younger than I am, but we were crossing the hall together at some point in time as well.
That's awesome.
So it's wonderful to see him in the classroom right now as well. It is a young man's game, though. We certainly recognize that, and public education this day and age it requires a lot of energy and a lot of effort. I'm old school in a lot of ways, but we all have to evolve and change and work with the new generation that we're working with now. So certainly that's something that we all continue to grow with.
Absolutely. And like when he sat down, he says, well, how long we got? I said, an hour. Because, this is, I equate it to sitting on the porch and just talking and getting to know each other. And I knew that you had that rich background at Greenbrier, and I just didn't really know, for sure exactly what it looked like. But I had no idea all these connections there. But Greenbrier's been around a long time, and we're proud of our Bobcats.
I probably need to get back more than I do, but I try to stay connected as much as I can. But right now it's more of a district perspective, and everything goes on, and all of our schools are important, and making sure we're supporting and providing the resources across the district that might be needed.
Absolutely. And the reason he is here, as I said, this would normally be the day Dr. Danny Weeks would come in and give us a report on the school board meeting. And one of our assistant directors, Steve Sorrells, has decided he is filling in for Dr. Weeks this morning. So we can get right to it, I tell you. So where do you want to start with? Let's pause for a minute. Let me go ahead and do one of my breaks. Sure. And then we'll get on into it. I'm anxious to get Barry Richards on to talk to him about this award he got. He got the humanitarian award. This is something that was given to him by his fellow realtors here in the county, is my understanding. But I had no idea this was coming up, and I don't think he did either. They surprised him big, but I want to really talk about it because this is one of the things I mention about him and Rebecca all the time, is how giving they are to the community. When you talk about sports sponsorships, of course, they're over at East Robertson. You'll see them sponsoring stuff over at East Robertson because they're in Cross Plains. They've been there for 30 years. All the connections to their community. He's the one who called me a couple of days ago to host an event on July 3rd in Cross Plains there at Kilgore Park. So he's involved in those kinds of things, have to do with 4th of July. Has nothing to do with real estate, but they're always just volunteering and pouring in. He pours into the Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center, doing the video every year for their big gala that they put together. Just all kinds of things that he and Rebecca are doing. And he was given that award for the humanitarian of the year just the other day. And so we're so proud of him, so proud of my friend. And so I say all that to say, who else would you want? representing you when it comes to the real estate table. If you want a good team that's going to work with you, they are Exit Prime Realty. His office is right here in downtown now. He is a broker. And then Rebecca's office, she is realtor. She's out in White House. They combine those two to bring you a new branch in the Exit tree. It is Exit Prime Realty. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Like me, they originate from Kentucky, so they understand the nuances of all of that. And something very important, Rebecca's office still has a broker that can broker deals in Kentucky. Not all can, because the laws have changed in Kentucky, so you need to keep that in mind. Rebecca, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. All the things, guys, they've got it for you. And Barry's announcing an open house. He's got this weekend, actually, in Cross Plains, 2136 Neal Lane, Cross Plains, Saturday from 2 to 4. Several nice homes, different price range, in a wonderful neighborhood. It's kind of a neighborhood open house. So you're going to want to go by and see that. But again, that's this weekend in Cross Plains with Exit Prime Realty. They're 2136 Neal Lane in Cross Plains, Saturday from 2 to 4. So several nice homes you can look at. Reach out to Barry and Rebecca. You can Google them, he says. That's the easiest way. Or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, or just give them a call. 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or 7424. Always let them know that you turned Cincha. And as promised, we have Steve Sorrells here. He is one of our assistant directors here in Robertson County, and filling in for Dr. Danny Weeks to give us an update on the school board meeting. So what did y'all do last night?
Ms. Vivio, I don't know that last night's meeting was untypical in any way, but it did have a lot of special things involved with it. It's probably one of our longer meetings that we've had since we've returned to Robertson County ourselves. So we're accustomed to some long school board meetings, but Robertson County has really been run fairly efficient, and it's nice to have short meetings occasionally, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, last night's a lot of discussion that went on. One of the things that also added to the night was how it began. There's probably 3 or 4 times a year that Dr. Weeks wants to utilize our board meetings for recognition. And there's always on the agenda a section for recognitions, but student recognitions is always important to us, and us being able to recognize students for outstanding achievements and whatever they might be. Of course, our purpose for school is learning, and we will have, in fact, there's a Director's Awards night coming up, I think on May the 7th, that we'll be recognizing all of our grades K through 8 in citizenship and academics. But last night, there was an opportunity for us to recognize all middle school students that have achieved something on the county level or above. So all county, state recognition, in some cases even a national recognition that goes with that. So each of our middle school administrators were asked to submit those names. Certificates were provided. Their parents were invited. Obviously, this time of year, being so busy and things going on, we had a number of our middle school athletics right now, softball, baseball, and soccer are heavily involved. So there were some obvious conflicts, and not all students were there, but well over 200 students were recognized and represented, from everything from junior beta to on a national recognition to obviously the athletics, all county, and some of them go on to make an all district. There's a district play for the TLSAA now for middle school. So just being recognized there. Some of them being recognized for there's a Tennessee, Kentucky basketball recognition that goes with it. So a number of things come to mind that they were recognized last night, but it's always a joy to have that boardroom packed with parents as we begin to go through and to have those students recognized school by school and name by name. And we get a group picture made with them before they finish out. But that's 20 minutes that's well worth an investment to just be able to recognize and to feel good about what's going on in our district and in our schools and some of the wonderful things that take place with our students. So just to be able to recognize them takes some time, but it's very important for us and it's very special.
That's especially here, like you said, at the end of the year. You've got, it's so exciting. I can't believe it's the end of the year already.
Yeah.
I truly, I've got one of my classes, my AV3 class. I'm looking at all my seniors that'll be done on May 8th. And I can't believe I'm not going to see these kids anymore. And I'm sorry, I go down rabbit holes, but that's the hardest part of teaching is saying bye to these kids after you've had them all these years. But being able to celebrate them and lift them up is just so incredibly special. And I just love that. I just love that y'all do that. I think that it means so much to the kiddos. We're getting ready for our academic awards tonight.
Right.
We'll be coming up at the end of the month. And it's hard to decide sometimes. Those grades are so close, but it's just wonderful to be able to honor those kids. That have excelled.
Going back to where we are in this day and age in public education, just being able to recognize and set aside students for their positive work and the things that they're doing. Unfortunately, so many times in our world today, it's always the negative that seems to be focused on or talked about, but to accent the positive here and the things that we're looking for and the things that we do expect, it's marvelous to see the high impact that young people have and what they can accomplish and achieve. We have high expectations for them, and they step back up and receive. Just another fun fact about Greenbrier High School, I know their Renaissance program does a
I was just
wonderful
about to
job,
mention it. Yes,
for both staff and students, just to be able to set them aside. And there's pockets of that program in each of our schools. But I know one of the highlights as an administrator that I had was our People's Choice Award that they did. So. And it's not recognizing the best student, but the best all-around student, It's not the best grade, it's the best student. So each faculty member being able to choose and celebrate that and knowing that kids can be recognized. And heck fire, they bring neighbors and uncles and aunts and, they pack that auditorium. So that's a special night too. So student recognition is big, and I appreciate Dr. Weeks doing that. So this month was middle school. Next month, as we get into May, it'll be high school recognitions, and we'll have all the county recognitions and above, so county, state, and in some cases a national recognition. Students will be called and recognized.
Well, you're going to have your seniors. It's going to be their last week when that hits.
Yeah.
Because that's, if they're exempt from finals, their last day will be on that Wednesday, right after your meeting. So you're going to have some wound up seniors there that they're going to be excited and proud.
Coming back from spring break, it's really a grind to get to the end of the year. Of course, you've already alluded to the fact that this is the last week to prepare for testing that starts next week. So all of our TCAP testing and our grades 3 through 8, and then of course high schools will have end of course tests coming up. So all those things are high stakes. There's a lot of pressure going on. We want everybody to do their best, give us our best effort with what that is. We're proud of what we've been able to do in Robertson County and seeing an upward trend over the last 2 years. I know there's some discussion about where we've been in the past, but we're moving away from that. And again, that upward trend puts us where we need to be. We're not satisfied yet with where we are. We know we can be better, but there's that constant improvement that we're striving for. But the high stakes and the pressure that's put on, it's really something that we want to try to control to a degree. But at the same time, there's a lot going on this time of year as we head toward graduation.
Very good, and it just gets busier. I have people that call wanting me to do this and that. I'm like, no. Calendar's full. Yeah. Calendar's full. Between school and all my grandkids, my calendar is full. But it is such a blessing. There are a lot of 12 and 13-hour days ahead of us. Yes,
right
there
now.
are,
Right.
but that's okay. And we'll hit graduation weeks. Will be really starting up that. Do you have that right off the top of your? I think I can nail it for you because Greenbrier is always the last one, and ours is the 18th. So that means the week of the 11th through the 18th, right in there is when you're going to have all your graduations. I would think,
right?
Because I think Greenbrier's is on the 18th, if I recall right. But and then the last day for seniors will be on the 8th, and it'll actually be on the 6th if they're exam exempt. And that's a problem. Let me ask you about that. I think that's been an excellent incentive to get the kids to school, the exam exemption. Have you been seeing that, do you think? Because I'm seeing I'm seeing better attendance for those. They don't want to take those, if they can, get exempt from exams, get the grade and have the attendance up. Do you think that's been a positive?
Certainly, there's different schools of thought about that.
Sure.
Personally, I'm in favor of exam exemption. As a principal, I know the way it was implemented in the day that it had that. First of all, it's about encouraging attendance. So good attendance
Sure.
can be rewarded that way. And if you're not at school, you're not learning. So getting to school to learn is what it's all about. Now, the exam is designed to be that comprehensive way that we can assess what have you learned.
Yeah.
But we've got so many other tools right now, in the course being one of them that we can utilize. But I personally feel that it's a positive way to encourage students for attendance, and then appropriate ways to reward them with that. And it's amazing what a student will go through in order to accomplish their exemption from an exam. So we battle that. On the other side of it, there's that academic thought that, we're not going to exempt an exam in college. So if you're going to college, you don't get exempt. But nonetheless, we know all students don't go to college, right?
Yeah.
So there's different schools of thought at it. But personally, I would support exam exemption as a way to encourage those high school students to be where they need to be.
Well, and that's one of the things when you can't be exempt from midterm, because that way you do have the experience
Right.
of setting for an exam. And that's one of the points that Dr. Osborne, we have discussed. And I think it's a good program. I really do. I think it helps. I think the things that they do to incentivize getting the kids there
Right.
is just highly effective. You mentioned our Renaissance program. I'd love to see that strong in every school, because I love it. I just think it's such a powerful program. And like you said, it's just like you bringing in the kiddos last night to honor them. That Renaissance reward program that we have throughout the year, it's easy to give accolades to athletes and those kinds of kids, because they're going to automatically stand out. But for the kids that just get the work done and they've got their head and they're studying, and, in the past, they haven't gotten that recognition, but through that program, that really helps.
Right.
And we're real proud of Miss Grimes in that program.
Miss Grimes has done a good job for a long period of time.
Yes, she has.
And again, it's for the old school thought that goes with that. You're bribing kids to do what you want them to do, but it's really reward. It's not bribe. It's reward. So
Well,
any recognition is a positive.
we get rewarded for doing our job. It's called a paycheck. So that's how that works. And being a career teacher, I equate that all the time with my kiddos. Is I talk about I'm a career teacher, so I'm going to tell you your behavior. Do you want us to keep a job or not have a job?
Right.
And I will tell some of the little knuckleheads, I'd fire you. I'm just playing, but of course, but I want them to know that when they get into the workforce, they've got to be more responsible.
There's a career truth behind all that, because
you better believe it.
you're interviewing for your job every day, and
Yes.
no matter what you're doing and where your
Yes.
performance lies, you're actually submitting an interview for what tomorrow brings for you.
You better
So,
believe it.
the future's still out there, and there's still work to be done.
Absolutely. We're talking with Steve Sorrells. He is one of our assistant directors here in Robertson County, talking about all things school board related. We've gotten through the introductory stuff that they did last night. Now, when you moved on from that, what did you get into?
I think the next thing that I would point to would be our financial report. I know reports are always an important part of any public meeting, and certainly that piece is something that Dr. Weeks and our board takes very seriously. That's one of the major functions of the board, is the budget. So to know where we are at this point in time is also important, and not only looking at the total amount of revenues and expenditures, but the percentage of those expenses as we go through the school year. So are we on track percentage-wise? Are we scheduled to go over budget, under budget? Obviously, when you prepare a budget, and by the way, we're working on next year's budget as we speak, but you never know what to expect or what to anticipate. You have to be conservative in nature with that, but the goal is to ensure that you got enough to cover. But at the same time, throughout the year, you're using stewardship to make sure that you're spending wisely, and cost savings can come with that. One of the things that our philosophy of budgeting includes is those anticipated revenues, even though they may not be there. Working with our county commission, who is the funding body, we also understand there's a maintenance of effort that goes into that. So for them to raise anything on any given year means that they've got to commit to that going forward. So there's a method to the madness, I guess you could say. I think people are surprised. They expect a balanced budget, but for the school funds, we've always dipped into our savings account, our fund balance, in order to get our budget approved and passed with that. You may recall that last year, in order to get our budget moved through and approved, it took over $8 million of our fund balance to kind of balance that and make it work. Well, again, we expect that throughout the year that we'll more than make that up. So last night, Dr. Weeks has reported these expenditures and revenues to the board. We've got to that break-even point right now, and this is through February. So we'll still have March, April, May, June, and July, or June rather, to end the fiscal year. So we are now putting back into our fund balance, in other words, is what we're saying. So we've made up that deficit that we had already, and going forward will be a positive for us. So we expect that through local sales tax and property taxes, for the most part, have been collected now, but those revenues, as they continue to come in and we manage our expenses going forward, that fund balance will continue to grow for us, and that's what we're looking for. So last night was our break-even point, and Dr. Weeks was sharing that with the board as we go. So budget, again, is something that's very important to us, and we pay close attention to. Another factor that we typically look at during that budget discussion is some of those common everyday categories like utilities and gas and diesel. So you think back to where we were this time last year in preparing for the budget, what were gas prices and diesel prices? Well, all of a sudden, who knew what the world events would create and cause, and the increase in spike in diesel prices, right? So buses running, and where those things are, they have not caught up with us yet. I think we'll find in the next couple of months, a great expenditure or a great increase in those expenses. But we're confident that we can manage it and get through the end of the year with it.
Okay, very good. I mean, that's been a concern because my husband does double duty and drives a bus as well as teach, and that's been, as we've been just thinking about it, knowing that is going to hit the budget hard. But
I appreciate you mentioned bus drivers earlier as far as a career, and of course, transportation has been a huge challenge for us this year. The shortage of bus drivers is not a Robertson County problem.
No.
It's a nationwide problem. We're putting together a program right now just to look at staff and trying to recruit staff and anyone else for that matter. But I was surprised in putting that together as we're getting ready to roll it out, what it takes to be able to be certified and licensed to drive a bus nowadays. So it's a huge commitment just to go through the training.
Yes, it is.
But we're working toward that, and hopefully we can overcome that here soon.
Well, and it's something I just speak to the teachers. I know my husband's one, and there are others. I know at least one other, but it is a good opportunity. You drive your kids to school, you teach them, then you drive them home, and it gives you some extra income, and you build better relationships with these kids. We were walking over the weekend, and one of the kids that rides the bus come down, and she's driving one of those side-by-sides, and we get to have a conversation with this kid that's our neighbor. And what a wonderful thing. It's just wonderful to see these relationships develop. And
exactly.
If you're looking for purpose and you're not sure what you want to do, consider driving a bus. And it's really, I had a license for a while, and when our kids were in school. They're fun to drive, honestly. They really are. I get a kick out of it, and that I've even toyed with the idea of going and getting my license back just so I can help out in the afternoon at Greenbrier, because we have a lot of the times kids that we're trying to get them home. And so I've had to, postpone a field trip because we were short drivers the other day. And, teachers, it's fun. You get to know the kids better. And so you're saying you're going to
Well,
reach out to staff and say,
we
why
are.
don't you do this?
Some of the positive benefits, not only it's more income, but it's
Yeah.
also being added onto your retirement. So
Yeah.
certainly coming there. We're also looking, we're not looking this full-time drivers to be nice, but obviously if you're in a classroom, there's
Yeah,
things that we'd
it's
have
hard
to
to do
work
it.
out. So maybe even from time to time, a sub driver. So maybe you could sub drive in your cluster, which would make it easier to get kids to school and then back to your classroom assignments as well. Coaches, we've already told coaches next year that if you're needing a bus to carry your team to the events, you cannot plan to leave until after the afternoon routes are finished. We just
Yeah.
don't have drivers.
Yep.
We've got buses, we don't have drivers. So we're even appealing to coaches that maybe, and I did that as a coach. I drove the bus. I drove the team bus. So all those things are catching up with us now.
Yeah.
We're trying to find obvious solutions that might be a fit for Robertson County, and that's going to be our focus. We'll have a training session. There's 14 days of required training
Yeah.
before you can actually go road test. So
Right.
we're going to do that before the dead period from the 1st of June to June 18th. There's 14 days there that we'll set aside for any staff member that might be interested. We're going to do everything we can to make it happen.
Well, if you need anybody to speak to it, Mark will help you. 'Cause
Okay.
he'd be a good one to say.
I'll make sure.
Here's the benefits.
Make sure Mr. Hardaway's aware of that.
There you go. Very good. But we need Jeff, and if you can drive a bus and there's support staff and substitute teachers, all those kinds of things. We had our career fair already this year, but do you know? Let me kind of change subjects on you real quick. Do you know, as far as staffing wise, how are we doing for next year? Because I know that we're already looking at that, right? Because you know kind of who's retiring, and do you have a number on how many are retiring?
So I got a list that I'll share with you here shortly.
Okay.
We did have a career fair last Wednesday, last week. Our Human Resource Department put that together and had a great turnout for that, including certified teachers, which is really what we want to make sure we bank up. So as we head toward these next few weeks, next 6 weeks, we'll really know that answer going forward. We do have a list of retirees, though, that we want to recognize and celebrate with them. Just sharing with you out of the classroom, we have Miss Tanya Batson, a third grade teacher at Joe Burns Elementary, Melissa Bishop, fourth grade teacher at Heritage Elementary, Stacy Bodden, third grade teacher at Kreisel, Miss Loretta Dooley. She's retired before, came back, and now retiring once again. A cosmetology teacher, a good friend of mine at Greenbrier High School.
Love her.
Mr. and Mrs. John Elmore, Becky Elmore out of the science department.
Oh my gosh.
John Elmore is also a science teacher and football coach at Greenbrier High School.
Miss them.
Allison Holman, academic coach at Watauga. Sonny Pinkleton, a second grade teacher at Watauga. And Lori Stevens, a kindergarten teacher at Watauga. So certainly those are retirees that we want to recognize. On the classified side, there's a Sheila, and I may not say her name correctly, but Koshmelder, who's a school nutrition technician at East Robertson. Letitia Martin, who's been a school cafeteria manager at Joe
Miss
Burns and
Tish.
Greenbrier.
Yes, Miss Tish.
Miss Tammy Roberts, who works in our office in the HR department. She works closely with myself and Miss Spencer in the classified departments and getting all that worked out. But Miss Roberts is also retired.
Okay.
So we know those. There will be others. We always have surprises that hit us
yeah.
in June and July. So we'll be, our Human Resource Department will be really busy the next 8 to 12 weeks and preparing for the next school year.
Very good, and that's how it rolls, guys. The folks in administration, they work through the summer, so just know that they're there and they're working to keep everything going. And like you said, you're already working on the next school year.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to look down the road constantly.
We come back from our Christmas break, our central office really starts gearing for looking to next year at that
Yeah.
point, meeting with principals and finding out what their needs might be and how we can budget and also prepare for those. So planning is a year-round effort for us.
Sure is. I'm talking with one of our assistant directors, Steve Sorrells, and he is talking about all things school board meeting. I kind of got him off topic. Forgive me for that, but I just got to thinking about the Elmores. I'm going to miss them, and Miss Dooley. We're going to they've been so good to me coming in as a new teacher. at the age I am and learning and the advice they've given me, just love them. And I'm going to miss seeing them in the halls. My goodness. But they're great. They're pretty awesome.
Coach Elmore was on the first football team I coached at Greenbrier in fall of '84. Miss Dooley was the godmother of cosmetology for our district. Actually, I think she was the second cosmetology teacher, but been a staple at Greenbrier High School for many years.
Yeah, very good. Well, we're going to miss you guys, but God bless you and congratulations. So what else have you got for us from the meeting last night?
Well, I guess the other discussion again, the length of the meeting and the discussions that created that from that, our board has really been actively seeking a building plan for our district for a number of years now, a couple of years. It's starting to, I guess, culminate now to final decisions and what those might look like. There was approval, as most people are aware. We do have a construction management firm, Hewlett Spencer, a firm that we've got experience with and have built schools here. They built Heritage High School for us back several years ago. They are our construction management firm. They're in place. We have an architect, Grace Architect out of Nashville. So those pieces are in line. It's now more about what are the concrete decisions to move forward. We know the high growth area of our county is up and around I-65 exits there in White House, and just the huge residential explosion that's been created. Of course, infrastructure is a big piece of that puzzle that we're trying to work out, but we're well aware of the needs in the White House cluster. We think about where we are coming out of the Department of Justice plan and some of the decisions that were made in order to satisfy and fulfill the requirements of that. So Coopertown Middle School really absorbed all of Springfield Middle School into one grouping, and then the creation of Innovation Academy that rose up out of that. So we understand that there's a call for and also a need for a Springfield Middle School to be established. That would help in a lot of ways to as far as school planning goes, and that sort of thing. But those two needs have kind of rose to the top as far as a middle school in White House and a middle school in Springfield. So the board is really looking to see where that may go as we are approaching the county commission. Obviously, that'll be a huge funding effort, a huge funding lift that we'll need to partner with them in creating. We've got some potential properties that we've identified. We do have a property in White House, of course, behind the high school when that was first constructed that presented a leveled area. All the utilities and everything would be available. So if you're looking for properties in and around the proper city limits of Springfield to identify a Springfield Middle School, that's been a challenge too. There's not many of those places left. Yeah. So the board did challenge that we could allow that our construction firm Hewlett Spencer to begin negotiating for some property locations, as well as allow the architect to begin the preliminary phases of constructing a building somewhere in the neighborhood of 106,000 to 110,000 square feet. We do look to see what that might look like on a layered or three-storied building that would fit the property types that we've identified. We know that if we could maximize shared facilities, and for example, in White House, if you built it on that property, you've already got the athletic complexes that are shared uses now. So you continue that. If you had maybe an additional practice field, you could utilize that. So a lot of I guess thought has gone into how those uses could be managed and what they might look like. But a significant discussion about what that might look like. We also know that in discussion with County Commission and our county mayor, Mayor Vogel, that there may be some county needs that we could also address, such as maybe a potential ambulance service or EMA building or fire station. Any of those then could be utilized on our property, and going back to our CTE programming, that could also have
yeah.
a dual purpose there too,
Absolutely.
that we could also utilize with what we're doing as far as future EMS workers or future firefighters, and some programming through our CTE programs that would be nice to do there. So yeah, maybe there's a potential. You probably have spoken and addressed the Tennessee College of Applied Technology request.
yes. Trying to find
they're
the land.
looking for a location as well. So
Yeah.
so we've been in those discussions, and there's some potential opportunities that we could look at, but nothing definite finalized yet. But again, allowing our construction manager to go ahead and start looking and identifying, getting to a ballpark number that we can budget with. So obviously, any land that you do find is going to be expensive. I know that there's that discussion about fair market value, but let's face it, with the rate of development that we've got now, the land's got a gold price to it. So it's going to be expensive wherever it might be and whatever you might select. So those are the pieces that are part of it. And again, a lot of discussion over the last year and a half have gotten to this point to move forward.
Yeah, and that's been, and Mayor Vogel mentions it every visit we have,
Yeah.
something to the degree of trying to find land. TCAT comes up a lot,
Yeah.
and that has been the major issue, is just where and what's the cost of the acreage. So if you got something that you think might work, you might want to reach out, because you have to stay on those major roadways because of the facilitating of trying to get the kids in there and buses and all the traffic. And that's, of course, that's the big issues that they have out in White House, is the traffic issues around all the things. And it's just across the board in White House. But
Accessibility to utilities is also
Yes.
critical.
Yeah.
So you start thinking about trying to run water and sewer to
yeah.
a school building,
Oh, yeah.
the huge lift that is. And so that's important as well.
yeah, very good. Talking with Assistant Director Steve Sorrells about all things school board related. We're going to pause for a second. And we're going to talk about Valor Mortgage. You know, I mentioned that we have a open house coming up in Cross Plains this weekend. Well, something that would be very advisable to do if you want to go to those open houses is, before you do that, reach out to Chris and his team at Valor Mortgage and find out just how much home you can afford. They're experienced loan officers. They're going to treat you like family. They're going to be your team, your partner. They're not just going to be a number. How much home can you afford? You got to look at your budget. You got to look at all the things, and they can help you do that. So when you go in to look at a home, you're not looking at homes that you're not going to be able to find a mortgage for. You're going to be a little bit too more than what you need to be looking at, because that is crucial. You want home ownership should be the most exciting time ever, because it's that American dream. One of the worst things you can do is to get in there and realize that you're in over your head. So you need to know, how much can I afford? What kind of a loan can I get? What can I qualify for? And am I really going to be able to budget this? Well, at Valor Mortgage, they believe that home buyers deserve to have a team in their corner, and that's exactly what you're going to find. Your budget, your goals, from VA loans to FHA loans, and all those options that are in those that I had no idea until I started talking to Chris about all the different things that were possible, from conventional to jumbo financing. They've got the tools to get you to the closing table. They're not just in the business of mortgage, they're in the business of making home ownership possible for everyone, whether it's a refi, investing for your future, buying your first home, it does not matter. They're ready to help you out. You can call them at 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or you can go to valor.mortgage. Get pre-approved today, because when it matters most, you deserve a lender that you can trust. Buy with confidence. Buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS number 1210804, DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911. 9911. Equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Rates and terms subject to change without notice. Not a commitment to lend. Valor Mortgage, tell them U-Turn sent you. All right. See, now we're only 12 minutes from the top of the hour, and we still have tons to talk about. See, it's so easy to get an hour in with me.
Yeah.
You know, so what else have you got for us?
I do want to highlight, we've already spoke to testing season that's coming up, so there will be some messages that Dr. Weeks will be sending out just to remind parents about the importance and preparation and best efforts that need to be put forward on that. So we would encourage that please get plenty of rest and nutrition, but at the same time, let's manage that stress level that we know that would be unfair to put on an elementary kid, but it's also the reality of what we're dealing with. It is a high-stakes season that we're approaching, and we do need best efforts come out of it. Do want to mention athletics real quickly. Again, middle school athletics is finishing up as we speak here in Robertson County. We have the Robertson County Middle School Athletic Association, which is a county tournament that is played. So baseball and softball are in the midst of their tournaments now. They'll have their semifinal games tonight.
Oh, wow.
Greenbrier is hosting the softball. So the 4 teams that remain there will be playing tonight with their championship game tomorrow at Greenbrier at 6. And then baseball hosts theirs according to the team with the higher seed. I do know that tonight there'll be a game at White House, semifinal game at White House, and at East Robertson. So they finished 1 and 2 regular season, so they'll be hosting semifinal games. And then I believe White House is playing Joe Burns and East Robertson's playing Innovation Academy. So according to the winners of those 2 games and the higher seed, we'll find out who hosts that. But that game will be played tomorrow night. So that'll be a championship for softball and baseball. Soccer, we have boys soccer. We started, by the way, we implemented girls soccer this fall for middle school. Until this year, it had been co-ed, or they played boys and girls at the same time in the spring. So we moved girls soccer to the fall to match what the high school sports do. So boys soccer championships be played. They have a play-in game Thursday, and then they play their semifinal game next Monday at Innovation Academy, and then the championship game will be at Innovation Academy. So the IA is the host site for the soccer tournament this year.
Very good.
So they'll be finishing that up there. I also want to mention that we had a great Saturday morning at Travis Price Park. The book walk was completed. Our federal programs, along with our early learning department, recognized and organized. I think it's Allie and the Bee, but it was a beehive bee, honeybee type of theme that went with that. The book is still there. In other words, you can walk the track. And it's in English and in Spanish. So there's probably 10 or 12 stations that you and your young child could walk through and read the book and learn about the value of honeybees. And our ecosystem is dependent upon the honeybee and what we can do to protect it. So a good learning series there with that is go with it. But had a wonderful turnout. There were probably 10 or 12 tables, including the library was there. We had several other area and community groups hosting and being a part of that. Had some actual beekeepers with a live honeybee there, so that was neat to look at. I learned myself from that, so just enjoyed that and appreciate the efforts, again, of federal programs and early learning to put that together with the Early Learning Literacy Foundation. So, but that's there permanently, and again, the book walk could go with it. Had the book bus there. I don't know if you had a chance to see the book bus, but I heard they gave out 175 books.
Oh, that's great.
So anytime the book bus is available, kids like to get on there and honk the horn, but there's books available. It's like a mobile library, and they have book giveaways anytime it's available. So certainly that was a good opportunity as well.
And, you mentioned the book. If you've got grandkids like me that just have an abundance of books and they look brand new and you're wanting to give them away, that's a good source. But they need to be new. They don't need to have writing in them or anything like that. And I've been able to take a few books over there from my grandkids a couple of times. Actually, I've got another stack. But they need to look new. But if you are like me, and my grandkids are so blessed and they have a lot of stuff, and when I get those new-looking books, that's where I want to take them because they can use them as a source. But that's at the Teacher Center where the old 84 Lumber used to be, if you're not familiar. They're on Highway 41, but that's where it's located, and you can ring the bell and drop off books there, and they're always appreciated. So I'm just kind of tag that in, but I've talked to them at the Book Bus a few times.
Sure.
And we did a music thing on the Book Bus. We're excited for another school to do their music so we can get that and put that out. I know Jesse Costello's been working on that.
I heard about that music video,
Yeah. Some of my kiddos involved in that, so very good. So what else have you got for us?
Also would mention there's a number of capital projects that are wrapping up right now. Most folks know that we've done a renovation at the Innovation Academy site, so that was completed back right at the Christmas break. So a significant investment there of over $8 million that went into renovating the HVAC and plumbing, electrical, lighting. We're also finishing up at West Side Elementary. That building had been just an old building that needed to be refurbished and refreshed. There was an addition completed. We've then since then gone back through in phases in each section, each wing of that building and renovating it. So spring break recognized the last major portion of it. It's about 95% complete now, and looking forward to wrapping that up, finishing that up. Woodall Elementary is getting a new roof. People don't see that, but that's $2 million to replace. That building was constructed, I believe, in 81, 82. The old rock ballast was still on top of that roof, so all that rock was removed, and we've got a new rubber roof now put on top of that. Another $2 million project that is finishing up. So a lot of things going on. We've got some playground work. I'll mention Cheatham Park Elementary was probably the oldest playground we had in the district. I mean, those swing sets and slides have been there forever, and so we've partnered with their PTO and looking at a phase one replacement. So they're working to put that in right now and should have it finished by the end of school. And then there'll be some more playground work we'll do through the summer after the end of school. So a lot of things are moving on. A lot of improvements that are well needed. Obviously, it's a juggle of financing and getting the resources to make those things happen. But we'll have several other projects going on through the summer.
Of course, absolutely. We're always excited to come get into school and kind of see some things that are different, meet some new faces, things like that. It's always fun when you come back to school. And I'm finishing my 4th year now. It's crazy to me. I just can hardly believe that. That's phenomenal. But it goes so quick, and it's just such a blessing. Anything else you have for us?
No, just again looking forward to what the end of the school year is going to bring to us. We know there's a lot of excitement that's generated this time of year. Certainly thinking about our seniors who are stepping off into the adulthood life that they're fixing to get to. Prom season's upon us, so we've got proms going on, and want everybody to be safe. Have a good time and enjoy it, but be safe. With that, make good decisions as always to go with it. But prom season's always a special time. Mentioned the Directors Awards that are coming up the 1st of May. That's going to be an exciting time for us. That's going to be held at Springfield High School, so parents will be receiving invitations for that. Students won't know if they're getting the citizenship or the academics, but they do know they're going to be recognized to go with that. So our schools are putting that in. And again, senior or high school recognitions at next month's board meeting. So we'll have a big report for you there and all the wonderful things going on. I know a lot of the CTE conferences and conventions have been held, which means each one of those has a competition that goes with it. So we'll be able to recognize a lot of student success with that.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I know Ag is just, they're into everything, FBLA. All those are just so competitive programs, and it's exciting for the kids to see those things, what they do.
One of the other changes that we've seen in secondary education over the last 10 years is that push toward, and credit Governor Lee with some of the money that's funded the programming for it, but it's about preparing kids for college and career readiness. So everybody doesn't go to college. We need a career skill and trade to carry with them. In this day and age, it's about the competition, and we know we're competing with Montgomery County and Williamson County and Sumner County, so our kids deserve the best, and I think we've done a great job. Mr. Gregory and his department is putting together career and technical education that prepares students for those successes. Competition drives that, and so when you go to a competition and compete against other schools and you come back with hardware, you come back with trophies, you're being recognized as being some of the best. It's something that we can stick our chest out about and talk about the good things that are going on in Robertson County schools.
And I love talking to the career and technical education kids that just really take what they're getting in high school and they build on it. I had a young girl last night I was doing some photography stuff for, and she has been in ROTC, but she's also had on her career path, she did cosmetology.
Yeah.
And so she has got, what I was so tickled to hear is that she's able to take what she already has in cosmetology from high school, apply that to her through TCAT,
Yep.
use her Tennessee Promise to go ahead and be doing that as she prepares to go into the military.
Exactly.
But she wants to have a multi-tiered options for herself. And that's something that I think CTE has really brought out. And that's something that I really talk to my kids about is what we do with audio video is applicable to everything now, but it's a very difficult career. So when I have kids that want to go into this industry, I've talked to them very frankly about the issues about income and things such as that. And we will oftentimes say, get a business degree to go with this and do this and put the two together and, and have those multifaceted options as you go into what's next. And so to hear her say that, I was like, that's exactly what we're trying to do with career and technical education, is just all the possibilities. I love it.
The career guidance that kids receive now, just the opportunities that are in front of them, it's another change that's been made too. It amazes me how many of our juniors and seniors have a career path already that they're working toward.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that's where they'll land, but I was in my third year of college before I come to a conclusion of what I was going to do with my life, you know? So to know that we've got kids that are 15, 16 years old that are pointing toward a career, thankfully, teachers such as yourself through Career and Technical and our school counselors do a wonderful job of advising, but there's so much in this career guidance that we're talking about is so important, and wonderful opportunities through TCAT and other dual enrollment opportunities that are coming more and more to our schools.
Yeah, I remind the kids all the time. I was talking to my freshman homeroom yesterday. I know we're out of time, but I said, now is the time you need to realize that if you'll plan properly, you can graduate with an associate's degree.
Yeah.
But you've got to start your freshman year looking at those kinds of things. Mr. Steve Sorrells, one of our assistant directors, has been fun. Like I said, gave us a chance to chit-chat, and my goodness, we're past the top of the hour, so we're ready to go. Thank you guys for joining us tomorrow. Ron Martin will be here to give us an update on the mayor and alderman meeting, which is happening here in Springfield tonight. I hope you will join us here on 1100 WSGI. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.